Have you ever felt like the body speaks to us long before the mind catches on? I learned this the hard way when my 83-year-old father suddenly refused his morning coffee, the same coffee he drank religiously for 60 years. At the time, I brushed it off. Just a bad day. But it was the first whisper of a truth I didn't want to hear. After losing so many loved ones, I've realized life gives us clear signs about a year before the end. Signs we ignore because they're subtle, painful, or simply because we don't know how to read them. Today, I'll share the first two, so you can be prepared, whether for yourself or someone you love. The first sign is heartbreakingly simple. Loss of joy. It's not just a lack of appetite. It's like life loses its flavor. My dad, who loved his Friday night red wine, started saying everything tasted like water. My Aunt Rosa, who baked the best chocolate cakes in town, stopped tasting the batter. And the worst part? We blamed it on age, depression, or a rough patch. But here's the truth doctors don't talk about. When the body begins its farewell, it first loses interest in what once brought joy. And we make a critical mistake. We push, eat, it's your favorite. Instead, we should ask, what would bring you joy today? I learned this too late, but you still have time. If you notice someone, or even yourself, losing spark for life's little pleasures, don't ignore it. Turn every meal into a moment of connection. A shared glass of fresh juice means more than a forced feast. The second sign is even trickier. Unshakable cold. My mum started wearing coats in summer, and we teased her. Such a snowbird. We didn't realize her body was conserving energy for what mattered most. Hands turn icy, feet feel permanently frozen, and worse, the person stops complaining because they accept it as normal. It took my neighbor John, a retired doctor, to teach me. When the inner thermostat fails, bundling up isn't enough. You have to warm the soul, too. I started taking my mom outside for 10 minutes of sunlight daily, even when she grumbled. I'd tuck a heating pad under her feet while we shared old stories. And I learned the human body responds to love more than any blanket. These two signs, fading joy and endless cold, are the first chapter in a story we'll all face, but few understand. If there's one thing I want you to take away today, it is this. Aging isn't about losing control. It is about learning a new language. So tomorrow, when you serve lunch, watch closely. When you hug someone, feel deeply. Life hides its most important messages in these everyday moments. And I promise, in upcoming videos, we'll decode the other signs together, including the one most families get completely wrong. But for now, I'll leave you with a challenge. Offer a hug that lasts a few seconds longer than usual. Notice the skin's warmth, the rhythm of their breath. You might just be learning a new alphabet of care, one it took me decades to understand. When the body's clock starts whispering. I'll never forget the last bedtime story my grandmother ever told me. I was 8 and I didn't understand why that night felt different. She, a woman of few words, suddenly shared memories I'd never heard. Childhood stories, family secrets, even love letters she'd never mentioned. 2 months later, she was gone. Years later, I realized she was putting her house in order. This is the third sign we all miss, a sudden need to revisit the past, not casual nostalgia, something deeper, urgent. My Uncle Carlos, a practical man who hated small talk, spent his final weeks calling cousins he hadn't seen in decades. My neighbor, Mrs. Marta, who rarely spoke of herself, started gifting heirlooms with long-forgotten stories attached. Doctors call this life review, but it's really the heart preparing for its final journey. And here's where we mess up. We call it melancholy or loneliness. Grandpa's just getting old, we say, when he's actually doing his most important work, stitching together the story of his life. If your loved one starts sorting old photos for no reason, repeating stories, giving away personal treasures, don't change the subject. Don't call it depressing. Sit, Listen, every memory shared is a gift you can't receive twice. The fourth sign is even sneakier. Sleep that's never enough. Not normal tiredness. It's like the body's saving energy for something bigger. My friend Adelia, always the first at church, began napping daily. Her kids joked, "Mom's turning into a cat." No one realized these were rehearsals for the final rest. Science explains it. As the body prepares, sleep cycles shift. Your loved one might nap all day, stay awake at night. Dream vividly of those who've passed, wake confused about time. Here's what I learned the hard way. Our first instinct is to fix their schedule, but what really helps, adapting to their new rhythm. With my grandpa, I'd read to him during his sleepless nights. Those hours became our most sacred, him teaching me constellations, me learning resilience. So tomorrow, if you see Dad dozing after lunch, don't wake him. Drape a blanket over him and sit close. These quiet moments are as holy as any last words. And get ready, because in the next video we'll talk about the most surprising sign of all, the one most families misinterpret, and how it could lead to more peaceful goodbyes. But for today, remember this. The end of life isn't defeat. It's the bravest transition of all, and like every important journey, it gives us time to pack, if we know how to read the signs. The final and most surprising sign. The morning my mother passed, something extraordinary happened. After weeks of silence, she woke up clear-eyed, asking for her favorite coffee, naming every grandchild, even singing my childhood lullaby. When I called the doctor, he said, "It's a gift, be present." By nightfall, she was gone. Only later did I understand. I'd witnessed the fifth and most misunderstood sign, what experts call the surge before the sunset. This phenomenon tricks nearly every family. When a fading loved one suddenly improves, we think it's a miracle, a medical breakthrough, but often it's nature's way of giving us time to say goodbye. My neighbor Antonio walked to his garden after months in bed. His wife celebrated until he died 3 days later, smiling at the roses he loved. Here's what you need to know. Typically happens in the final 24 to 72 hours. Appetite, memory, or energy may return. They often ask for one specific person, may talk about getting ready or traveling. With my Aunt Isabel, we made the mistake of thinking she'd recovered. We took her to dinner, made summer plans. When she passed 2 days later, we felt betrayed. Years later, I realized that dinner was her farewell gift, a final memory of joy, not grief. The hardest lesson: death rarely steals in unnoticed. It knocks, waits outside, gives us chances to prepare. Our pain comes from not speaking its language. So if you ever witness this sudden rally in a fading loved one, don't rush to schedule tests. Don't make long-term plans. Just be there. Hold the hands that held you. Listen to the stories that need telling. And when the time comes, you'll know, not by a monitor's flatline, but by that deep, quiet certainty that love has said everything it needed to. In 20 years of walking people home, here's what I know for sure. Death always whispers first. We just need the courage to listen. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you seen these signs? How did you respond? Your stories might help others face this path with less fear and more grace, because in the end, this isn't about dying. It's about living every moment right up to the last precious breath.